and welcome to Dorchester, where a very good crowd has turned out to watch local boy Thomas Hardy write his new novel, The Return of the Native, on this very pleasant July morning. This will be his 11th novel and the 5th of the very popular Wessex novels, and here he comes! Here comes Hardy, walking out toward his desk. He looks confident, he looks relaxed, very much the man in form, as he acknowledges this very good-natured bank holiday crowd. And the crowd goes quiet now as Hardy settles himself down at the desk, body straight, shoulders relaxed, pen held lightly but firmly in the right hand. He dips the pen in the ink and he's off. It's the first word, but it's not a word. Oh no, it's a doodle way up on the top of the left-hand margin. It's a piece of meaningless scribble, and he signed his name underneath it. Oh dear, what a disappointing start.
You asked it around, you're touching around my suit. It's gone.
What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You are qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now, Albert?
Hey kids, it's your old pal and aspiring author ML Elric, aspiring, discouraged, failed author, here with the Soul of Detroit. Mark Fellhaus here, Sean Windsor's here, but our special guest is a successful author, a best-selling author, one of Detroit's own Lowell Cauffiel. You saw him on this show several months ago talking about Masquerade, which was his outstanding true crime novel about a Wayne State University professor who becomes obsessed with a prostitute, and you could say he goes to pieces over her, except that's not exactly accurate because he was chainsawed to pieces because of her, but that's not why we're here today, even though, boy, I kind of wish we were now that I think about it. We're here because Lowell has a great new book, Below the Line. It is fiction, and it is fantastic. I read it when I was up north. It's a perfect summer novel, which I think Lowell will also tell you is great in the fall, the winter, and the spring as well. So Lowell's going to join us in just a minute to talk about that, zooming in from L.A., which he skewers repeatedly in this novel. And we're going to get you caught up on Denasia Neal, the Detroit attorney who got caught in an SUV with fentanyl and guns. There's been a big development in her case. We're going to tell you about that before we go today.
Well, what a good tease. I don't even know what it is.
Oh, yeah. No, you gotta hang on. Don't go anywhere, Mark. We need
He is a good tease.
We need you. So, and
been teasing me for a long, long time. Look at him. Let's just look at Sean.
Suddenly the studio got very small.
With a hoodie, I know. I'm fighting the patriarchy in here because the patriarchy keeps the temperature at 60 degrees.
What are you talking about?
And I am, of course, pathetic and get cold easily now. So
it's because Mark's going through menopause. He's getting
Sean
hot flashes.
No, you're sweating all the time.
Oh.
Yeah.
I am always on fire.
Okay, well, this is all brought to you by David Hall and the good people at Hall Financial, Luke Nowacki and the financial wizards at Pinnacle Wealth Strategies, the bricklayers who have some great opportunities for you to get your career on track, to get your career started, to make good money while you're training, to get benefits, to get pensions, annuities, all kinds of fantastic benefits. We're going to tell you how to avail yourself of that. And, of course, the Caju Cafe, where I was last Friday, as promised, in kilt for the Smiths Unite, who put on a fantastic show in perfect weather, hanging out the garage bar. Ran into Woody Woodruff there, who, as you know, is a huge New Wave fan. Yep. It was a great night, and it's always a good time at the Caju, so we'll be talking a little bit.
Woody, who wanted to do his own Smiths cover band called the Blacksmiths.
The Blacksmiths, yes. That would be...
black cover band of the Smiths.
I think there's a lot of potential there.
There is.
We can get Vernon Reed. I think he's going to be in town with Living Color sometime later this summer, so... We'll have to check that out.
Vernon Reed reference.
It's a good reference.
We got our own Dennis Miller over there.
Solid reference.
Boning in the boneyard. Yeah, it's like, well, it's Aristocles would have said, what's that? When the Roman Senate met, it was. Yeah, I hate Dennis Miller.
Really?
But,
you didn't like his flip politically, did you?
Politically I don't care, but I think he's...
just his flip, then.
Well, no, I think he's gratuitously obscure, which I get it. That's his shtick.
His thing, yeah.
But I also, I'm kind of torn between begrudging him thinking he could pull off the Monday Night Football thing. That to me felt like, wow, what a great offer. That's really exciting. But if you don't let your vanity and your ego get in the way, you say, this isn't my spot, so I'm going to pass that up.
I'm one of the, I know there's nobody probably other than me that I actually liked him on there because it was somebody different. There was something else, because the game sucked, at least there was somebody who could entertain the audience. That's what I liked about it.
Yeah.
No? I must be the only one.
I guess. I preferred it when the people who were there to make the game interesting made the game interesting. The Howard Cosell's, the Dandy.
Oh, he'll never be
Merediths,
Howard, but yeah.
You know,
yeah.
all those guys. And I like Dan Deerdorf, too. I think he's not quite as flamboyant as those guys, but I really like Dan. I'm sorry that he's not doing the Michigan football games anymore.
I also like, especially now looking back, a media company that would take a chance on something that big, right?
Yeah.
Nobody takes chances anymore. Everybody plays it safe.
You guys took a chance on me. It hasn't really worked out, but
Not at all.
That reminds me, we're going to have ABBA in room 7609 this week. Take a chance on me, covered by the Violent Femmes.
We must get a tax write-off for Sean being here. So.
I hope you get something.
This is community service. This is part of a diversion program. And Lowell's like, okay, quit diverting from me. Lowell is ready to go. Lowell, if you're watching us on YouTube or on Facebook, you will see Lowell shamelessly promoting not only the cover of his book, but some merch that he bought, which has a tie into the book. And I hope you lock your doors at night, because it looks like a pretty sweet guitar collection back there, Lowell.
Yeah, it's 2 of 14, actually.
Can you play all of those?
Yes, I do. I have to avoid going into certain guitar shops, because if one gets into my hands that feels right, it tends to leave with me. It's become a problem.
Damn. So Lowell Cauffiel, best-selling author, shoplifter, is with us today to talk about Below the Line, which is his new novel. He's got a blurb on here from Elmore Leonard, which is impressive, because I think the book was published after Dutch left us. Cauffiel knows how to make it sound real. Now, what's the story behind this grumble from the grave from the great Elmore Leonard?
Well, my previous novel called Marker, which Dutch had read, and then he had blurbed it with that blurb. And we were putting together blurbs for the new book, and I told the editor, I says, I've got this one from Elmore Leonard from several years ago. God, it was 20 years ago. And it's really not about the book. It's about me. And they said, oh, we love that. So they put it right on the top. And I got some criticism saying that I was shamelessly using somebody from the grave, that obviously Elmore hadn't read the book. But if you look at the blurb, it's about my style. It's not about a particular book. So.
Well, I thought this when I was reading it, and like I said, I read it in about a day or two. It's not thin. It's 300 pages, but it just the story moves. I couldn't help thinking, and I hope this is not in any way insulting. It wouldn't be to me anyway, but it's very Leonard-esque. I mean, it really has that feel. I mean, and not just from some of the obvious things, like the protagonist is a Detroit cop who becomes kind of your classic fish out of water. He's identified by some people who create an opportunity for him, which he thinks, oh, this is going to be great. And of course, once he gets into it, he's like, okay, this wasn't what I thought, and now I'm stuck, and now how do I survive? And there's no turning back now. But it really had that breezy feel, the great dialogue, the twists and turns. I mean, I got the book for free, but I would pay for it. Let me just tell you that.
Well, send him some money.
I mean, I would consider that a compliment to be compared to him. And he was a huge influence on me. I used to meet him for lunch, and he would give me his advice about writing, and I took a lot of it to heart. I think what the similarity is that there's that element of humor, even though it's a crime novel, and even though there's some really heavy-duty shit in it, it still has that the criminals and some of the people are legends in their own mind, and that's what makes it humorous. If you look at his books, they all have that kind of tone, and so I have that similar kind of tone. I want to make it entertaining as well as compelling. So that's what I try to do, and I think that's why I get compared to him sometimes.
Well, I think it's an apt comparison. I think the one difference I would point out is, while you do have some of these characters who really swagger, there isn't this really way out there, just completely bizarre character. You know, I always think Elmore Leonard always has somebody in there who's either kind of like a Superman, who is the greatest thief there ever was, or the most flamboyant drug dealer who's completely crazy. Every character in this book does not feel made up to me. That does not feel like, wow, I wish there were really people like that in real life, because I feel like I've seen every one of these people, with the exception of the former porn star. I haven't hung out that much with former porn stars, although I am willing to learn for research.
What do you mean by that much?
Well, I did knock on a lot of doors asking women if they danced for Kwame Kilpatrick, and did meet a couple pros in the process. But
those are porn stars.
Yeah, well,
sex workers.
Yeah, they're more exotic dancers, I think we called them.
All those characters in the book, I've actually experienced all those characters, including the former porn star. And, you know, I obviously changed things. I didn't to protect the guilty, but I mean, that's a real cast of typical LA type people. When we were first putting the book out, you know, to sell it to a publisher, some of the editors and even one of the agents said, "Well, these Hollywood people don't make any sense. They've got these concocted ideas, and they're doing things that are irrational, and so it's not believable." And I said, "That's the whole point of the book, is how irrational they are." And finally, you know, we found an editor that really got it, and she loved it, and she happened to be a fan of Dutch as well, too. So it's a certain style. And for me, it was the lead character, Edwin Blake, who is a former Detroit homicide cop who retires and comes to L.A. to become a consultant on film and television, which happens a lot. A lot of the consultants in these you know, in TV series and books are former cops and you know, former experts. You get paid, you know, $5,000 a week. It's a good gig, and he comes out and he has a couple of good years. And then things go to shit. You know, he turns 50, and now suddenly he's way older than anybody that's working, and so he's not getting the gigs. But what I was trying to do in the book is kind of take my Detroit mentality, because I spent all that time there, and take it into LA and look at LA from the standpoint of somebody from the Midwest or someone from Detroit. I mean, in Detroit, look, I mean, we go a mile a minute on the freeways. People are very direct. They, you know, if they don't like you, they tell you to fuck off. Here, they tell you they love you and stab you in the chest, you know, on the next day. So, so I try to take that kind of Detroit point of view and bring it into the business, which I'm very familiar with because I spent 20 years here writing film and television and dealing with all these kind of people. And so that's what makes it fun, you know, and that allows me to take a lot of shots at LA too, and the business, the movie and TV business.
To that point, you know, we see Hollywood as being so phony and fake, which I imagine that it is. So was it exactly what you thought it was? Did you have preconceived notions? I mean, you've been there now for, like you said, for 2 decades. Are you still a fish out of water, a Detroiter out there, or is it, how fake is the city?
Well, you know, it's show business, okay? It's show business. It's not show friendship. It's show business. So everything's a show. And, you know, they craft illusions. I mean, nobody likes to go to premieres. You know, it's a pain in the ass to go to a premiere with the parking and all that stuff, but it's part of the show. Yet America sees it as, oh, they're these glamorous people and they've got these beautiful clothes. Nobody buys those clothes. I mean, the designers all provide the clothes. You know, they provide the makeup people. You know, everything, like I said, everything's kind of an illusion. I've worked with a lot of different people. A couple of people that I've worked with, though, have been absolutely amazing. One of them was Michael Douglas. Michael Douglas and I took a show out. We took it to like 15 different networks. It was about the founding of the Indianapolis 500 and the guy that founded it. It was a very compelling show. He showed up at every pitch. He was a great guy. I remember my girlfriend at the time, I was at a party, and he puts his arm around her and says, you know, you realize what a great guy you're with? And just a super, super guy. I can contrast that with others who I will not name that were big stars that were supposed to be part of, you know, pitching to a network and never showed up for the pitch. I was always there with the producer. So, and there's a lot, JP in the book is kind of a classic upper level producer who's, gone around the bend and has kind of gone psycho. But yeah, I've met some really great people out here though. But it's not art, okay? It's business, and you got to just remember that you're not making art. You're in an entertainment business. You're in show business. It's not show friendship.
I think a lot of people forget too that there's a lot of blue collar. I mean, LA County is huge. I think there's more people in LA County than there is even in the state of Michigan. But there's a lot of people that work on a movie, and a lot of them are blue collar. And I don't know.
That's where the title comes from. See, there's above the line and below the line. Above the line are people that are higher in as corporations, like writers, directors, editors, the stars, the actors. They're above the line. The below the line are the electricians, the PAs, the gaffers, the teamsters. Those are below the line. So the title of the book has actually a double meaning. The hotshot producer JP tells Edwin Blake, my protagonist, he says, you come out and do this for me. I'm going to get you on this show, and no more below the line for Edwin Blake. You're going to be above the line. You're going to be up there with the writers. And he says, well, technically a consultant is actually above the line, JP. And he says, you know what I'm trying to say. But the double meaning of the title, below the line, is really the underbelly of the business and the underbelly of the criminal element that's around.
Whose idea was it to drop the E below the N in the line on the book?
On the cover, yeah.
On the cover, sorry. That's very clever.
I pretty much came up with the concept for the cover. I said, let's use the Hollywood sign, something with the Hollywood sign. And so they took that typeface, and then the designer dropped it there and put the two bullet holes in it.
And just to set the scene for this book a little bit, Edwin Blake, cop, goes out to L.A., catches on with the show. Then he's in between gigs, and this big-time producer calls him out to this ridiculous mansion and proposes that he help him find a woman, the ex-wife of a friend of his, or the friend of a friend of his. This guy is rich, but he's not going to pay the cop. The promise is, if you do this, I'm going to put you back as an A-lister, even though it seems like the producer isn't really an A-lister so much himself anymore. And then the cop is like, well, I don't know, but I need to get this thing going, or I need to get out of here. Then, like in a lot of Dutch's novels, actually, he meets a woman. And one of the things I really like about this book, and what I like about Elmore Leonard's books too, is he meets a woman who's kind of like him. She's around 50. She's still attractive, but she's not a star. She's not some ingenue.
A real person.
She's not the hooker with a heart of gold. Yeah, she's a real person like him. And they kind of ground each other because they're in this bizarro world, but there's one other person they can rely on who actually is reasonable, and so they become this sort of team. And then as Edwin is investigating, we find out somebody else is looking into this too, who's a very nefarious character. They seem to have the same objective, and their paths cross, but you don't realize that until you're somewhat deep in the novel, and then you start to realize they don't really have the same objective. They're adversaries, but only one of them realizes they're adversaries. And then things really start to get complicated. And when you say below the line, I also think there's another meaning here, which is what motivates everybody, and I don't want to ruin it for people, but what motivates them is below the belt line. Like a lot of people in Hollywood, it's their nose and their dick that gets them going. The nose candy or the blue pill makes a lot of stuff happen that shouldn't happen. And it's tremendous. And I got to read my favorite passage in the whole book. And there were a lot that I liked. But this is something I think about all the time. And I think about this as being, I guess a very, very minor figure in Detroit, too, where people from TV show up place and they think, I'm going to get a good table. They're going to let me in for free. It's like, you probably make more than anybody here. Why do you expect to get something for free? And here's a great scene where Here it is. Poole thought about the Bentley he saw in Mr. Perry's driveway. The guy sitting fat and happy in his big glassy house, a housekeeper and assistant anticipating his every request. He remembered the time Tony the Ant asked him to take care of a big TV star when the actor came to Vegas back in the day. He drove the asshole around for 3 days. The actor paid for nothing. Shows, restaurants, all on the house, including the 2 whores the actor wanted sent to his room in the Stardust. That's the way it worked. The rich and the famous, the people who could afford everything, got everything for free. For the people who couldn't afford squat, it was full price. It all seemed half-ass backwards. That is one passage in the middle of the book where I said, Lowell Cauffiel knows what the hell he's talking about, and why is the system so screwed up that people who could buy and sell us 100 times over keep waiting for us to open that velvet rope for them so they can get in for free while we're all standing there sweating our balls off to pay $100. I just don't get it. It drives me crazy, and I love how you brought that home, because that just is, it seems to me like one of these fundamental truths that makes me crazy.
And it's so true out here because you've got star power, right? And they get everything. They get swag, you know, they go to an event, they get trips. I mean, some of the swag that actors and others get out here is amazing. I mean, trips to Europe, it's crazy. You know, they get a little bag. It's got all different things in it, like if you're at an awards thing. Yeah, and they've got the best tables. They've got everything, and they don't pay for much at all. Like I said, the clothes at a premiere. Anybody that you see, any woman particularly, those dresses that they're wearing, all that, they haven't paid for those. The jewels that are on them, that it's all provided as part of the promotion that's done by the designers. So you know, yeah, that's the way of the world.
It's now when you're putting a book together like this, I've always thought, and I've always wanted to write fiction. I can never think of anything that's interesting enough, so I write the really crazy shit that people truly do. But how do you work that out where you have kind of, you know, your beginning, middle, and your end, but then you bring the other stuff in? You know, it's like, oh, there's this guy, then there's this subplot, and then this happens, and I know I need this to happen now, and nobody's going to really pick it up, but later on they're going to figure out, oh, that's why that happened, and all the pieces come together. I mean, do you diagram this? Do you go back and say, okay, now I need to add this person at the beginning, or do you put them in the beginning and know they're going to mean something at the end? It just, the process has always fascinated and frustrated me.
There's three elements that I always start with. I'm
writing this down, by the way.
And the first one is, who's my protagonist? Who's my character? And I will spend, once I decide what he is, like Edwin Blake, you know, I decide, okay, former Detroit homicide cop, because I knew so many Detroit homicide cops. I knew how they talked. I knew how they acted. I knew what the clothes they wore, the kind of guns they carried. And then I think, well, what's his name? And I'm telling you, the name can take weeks. Trying different names, writing out first name, second name, you know, and it's not until I get the name that I know the character. And I mean, that's the perfect cop name, Edwin Blake. And his friends call him Eddie. Eddie, what the fuck are you doing? You know, but Edwin Blake, you know, more formal. Then the next thing I need is the inciting incident. What is the thing that throws this character's life out of balance? In this book, and the inciting incident can throw the character's life to the positive out of balance or to the negative. With Edwin Blake, it goes to the positive. He gets this offer, hey, you can be on this television show if you go find this woman and a kid for a friend of a friend. So it looks positive. So his life is thrown out of balance to the positive, and then you follow that thread, you know, through the whole second act. And then the final thing is the inciting incident decides what the climax is going to be. You know, how is he going to put everything back together? In terms of the all what I populate the book with, I just start thinking of people I've met and characters. I mean, you talked about the woman, his girlfriend, Carla. Carla was originally actually a former madam of a whorehouse out in Thousand Oaks. But because I also had a retired porn star, one of the editors suggested, you got two sex workers in here. I think people are going to mix them up. So I came up with a different background for her, which is just as good and even better. And in fact, she's a former roller derby queen, right? So, and she's in recovery. I always like to put one person in recovery in my books. And she's in recovery from painkillers, which makes sense. If you're in a roller derby and you're getting injured all the time, it'd be easily, to get addicted to opium. But anyway, I put these characters in this thing and I let them kind of determine what's going to happen. Once I got to the inciting incidents and I put things in motion, and I have my cast of characters, they kind of determine what's going to go down. I don't think that out. I don't diagram that out.
Wow, I've always thought it's kind of like Garage Band, where okay, well, I'm going to lay down a guitar track, and at some point the drums are going to come in, and I gotta make room for a little.
Maybe you're forcing it then.
I think I am, and so Elmore Leonard. There's a documentary that just came out about him. He was in the Free Film Festival. And I was the moderator for a discussion there with Peter Leonard, who's Dutch's son, who's also a novelist, who will be joining us next month on the Soul of Detroit. So watch for Peter Leonard.
So we can talk about you some more.
Elric's Book Club.
He's also a consultant on the reboot of Justified. So we're going to be talking about Justified as well.
Lowell, can you just
wait a minute, hold on a second, Sean. You can't be asleep and then wake up like that. I got to finish the sentence. The name of the documentary is Don't Try to Write, because that was Leonard's advice to people: is don't try to write, just write, which is
that's right.
Is crazy. Okay, sorry, Sean.
I was just going to ask Lowell. No, I was just going to ask Lowell if he could make you his next protagonist for a book.
He'd love it.
That would be great.
Well, he's already had the former porn star, so I think he's going to have to start over.
Muckraker, right?
Lowell,
saving the city.
Lowell, do you still do anything with true crime, or did House of Secrets ruin it for you? Which, I mean, that is a fantastically horrifying book. Eye of the Beholder is good too. I mean, true crime before it blew up into what true crime is now. Do you still do any true crime consulting or TV producing?
Well, I'm not going to be writing any more true crime books. I mean, House of Secrets finished me off. I ended up, for a couple of years on antidepressants. By the way, I take that experience and bring it into Edwin Blake. Edwin Blake is suffering from clinical depression. And as he begins his journey and below the line, he starts taking an antidepressant, which has got side effects. But anyway, I've hooked up with another producer, and we are shopping some of my stories as a part of a true crime series for a long form documentaries. So in other words, like 3 or 4 episodes to take like the Canny story and make it 3 episodes, a nonfiction, documentary style. So that's where I'm dabbling still in true crime, because I've got all that, what they call IP, intellectual property. And that might be worth something, particularly with the strike going on, because the nonfiction stuff is not covered under the WGA agreement.
Can you watch true crime, or did House of Secrets ruin? Is it just?
Yeah. No. I mean, I love the Dahmer series. No, I still watch it, and still I like a good documentary, a good like the Jinx. That was a great one.
Oh my God, yeah.
What happened with Below the Line? I know we talked about that last time you were with us, Lowell, but give people a quick recap of what it was about and why it hit you so hard.
You mean House of Secrets?
Oh, sorry, House of Secrets. Below the Line is the book.
House of Secrets was about a guy named Lee Sexton and his wife down in Canton, Ohio, who had like 13, 14 kids. And he was having incestuous relationships with his daughters and creating babies with a super race that he was trying to build called the Futuretrons. And but these kids were all horribly abused on a daily basis. And although it appeared to be the perfect family to the neighbors, they thought, oh, the kids are so well behaved, and et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And he goes on the run, and then starts ordering his kids to to kill like his one of the babies, and kill one of the bearded husbands. It's totally fucked up.
Not something you walk away from.
I mean, can I say this though? It was really well written. I mean, it's a horrific story, but you did a good job getting it across. I don't know. Is that a silver lining?
I felt like I was writing myself out of hell, like I was climbing a ladder out of hell when I was writing that, because I had gone into this state of depression, and it was the antidepressants that actually allowed me to write the book, because I thought humanity just wasn't worth even being around anymore, because I spent 2 years doing the research. That's what nails you on true crime, is that you're on one day you're with the perpetrator, and you're his buddy, and you're interviewing him in prison. It's like, I did this with Lucky Fry and what's his name, Brad from Eye of the Beholder and all that, and you're in prison with these guys, and then the next day you're with the family and they're crying and you're hugging them, and you're going like, who's the psychopath? I'm the psychopath. I got all these different personalities depending on who I'm researching and who I'm dealing with, and that's what eventually got to me. It was like I just needed to find myself again.
Ugh. Well, Lowell, before we let you go, tell us the story of the T-shirt you're wearing, which I think says Los Angeles County Coroner.
Yeah, one of the scenes in the book, and I went over to all my novels. A novel is a giant lie, okay? A novel is the greatest lie anyone will ever tell. But every psychopath knows that to tell a great lie, you have to have all the details truthful. That's how it works. So I knew I was going to have a scene at the coroner's office, the LA coroner's office, and I also needed a copy of a autopsy report from Los Angeles, because I knew it would be different than the Detroit autopsy reports, which I was familiar with, because I was going to use that in the book. So I went to talk to the PR guy at the Los Angeles County Coroner. And while I was waiting in the waiting area, there were these families around that were like crying. And I mean, it was a horrible scene. They were there to pick up the personal effects of people who had died. And I see this door over on the left, and it says, skeletons in the closet. And I asked the receptionist, what's that? And she said, oh, that's the gift shop. I says, a gift shop? And she goes, yeah, go check it out. I go through the door, and here's this gift shop. And they're selling everything from crime scene tape to coroner gags. You can buy the outline of a human body that you can put on your floor and all this. And there's all these pictures of movie stars who have been there, and they're with their autographs on there. And only 20 feet away are all these people that are having the most horrifying days of their life. And I thought, God, the contrast, the high contrast. Elmore was always really good at high contrast too. And I thought, this is great high contrast. Over here, we got all these laughs behind this door. And over here, we have all this tragedy. And so I bought the T-shirt here. And I actually have my character go into the gift shop too, and he buys some goodies and comes out with a coroner hat and a T-shirt. Edwin Blake does,
and he also
creates a whole different illusion for the guy that's following, who thinks that he's taking a job at the coroner's office.
Right, exactly. It puts another nice twist in the plot. Well, our guest today is Lowell Cauffiel, author of Below the Line, a Hollywood crime novel. You may remember Greg Sutter, who was on this show last year. He was the leg man for Elmore Leonard. He says, Cauffiel takes what he learned after many years writing about the unforgiving streets of Detroit, and then as a writer in the Hollywood machine, to create a darkly humorous story, Below the Line and Beyond the Pale. And there's also some blurbs here from Mike Binder, comedian, filmmaker from Detroit, Lauren Estelman, who writes some great historical crime novels from Detroit. Lots of great people, but terrific book, Lowell. Congratulations, and I hope it sells a lot of copies, because it's a fun read and people are really going to enjoy it.
Guys, I really appreciate you having me on, and it's good to reconnect with my hometown.
Yeah,
I miss it.
And you said you're coming back for a Lions game this year, right? Now that they're good.
Yep, absolutely. I think Campbell has finally changed the losing culture there. I hope. I mean, I got a lot of anticipation like everybody else. I have PTSD from
We
the
all
Detroit
do.
Lions.
We all
So
do.
does O'Hara. Mike O'Hara's got PTSD, okay? And Mike O'Hara has some great jokes about the Lions. Never take your children to a Lions game. You'll be arrested for child abuse.
Yeah.
But, it's I think they've turned the corner now, and I love the Lions. And I just pray to God they'll make my bucket list and get to a major playoff.
Yeah. How would you like to have O'Hara's career? First you're in Vietnam, then you cover the Lions. I mean, how many bombs do you want to be around? I mean, holy crap! The man's a miracle. He's able to function in a somewhat productive manner. But
we need a 12-step group for Detroit Lions fans. We need 12 steps, man, to recover.
I think there's one step just right off the edge of the roof. But I wish them all the best. And Lowell, if you're in town, let us know. We might we go hang out at the new police headquarters. I think they have a gift shop too. Maybe you can do some souvenir shopping while you're in town. So that's Lowell Cauffiel zooming in from L.A. Below the Line is the book. Check it out. You can probably get it at booksellers nearby. I'm sure it's on Amazon, but we always prefer you do a little business with the brick and mortar folks. Carol watching on Facebook says excellent. I think she's nailed it in one word. But if you're looking for excellence, here comes smooth segue, slick professional broadcast guy. The bricklayers and allied craft workers of Local 2 Michigan are looking for hardworking men and women all throughout the state of Michigan. Whether you have experience in any of the trowel trades or not, there is an option for you. If you have no prior experience, there are free training opportunities with job placement starting at $26.16 an hour, plus benefits, and not the ones that some of the people in Lowell's novels are handing out. You can earn while you learn as a registered apprentice. Experienced tradesmen and women in building new or restoring old masonry, installing tile, marble or terrazzo, caulking, or finishing concrete make anywhere between $26.16 and $37.20, plus benefits like Blue Cross Blue Shield health insurance, not one but two pensions, and an annuity. Year-round free training, workshops, and certifications with the possibility of more. I don't know what more there could be, but there's more. Referrals and a signing bonus of $2,000 for journeymen and $1,000 for experienced apprentices. If you want to know about this, what the more is, any questions you got, visit bricklayers.org. That's BRICKLAYERS.org to learn more about what Local 2 has to offer or take the next step in building your future. Do you have the echo ready? Today. Oh, that was radio professional. That was
right.
That was podcasting gold.
I was a little nervous there.
Damn.
Do you want to provide your update now on?
Oh yeah.
Nasia?
Yeah, before we talk about David, Luke, and
We'll get
you.
to yeah.
So Denasia Neal, last week, if you remember, we had some very nicely produced video by Mr. Mark Fellhauer, producer extraordinaire, showing a traffic stop of a lawyer who was later hired by the city of Detroit, who was caught with guns and fentanyl in her car, along with three knuckleheads. At the time we reported this story, she was waiting to hear back from the Michigan Court of Appeals because she was trying to get the search thrown out. She was trying to convince a judge that the police should not have searched her car. They did not have probable cause, and therefore anything they found in the car could not be used as evidence against her, and without the evidence, the case would go away.
That sounds like a huge Hail Mary throw by her.
Yeah, and she's the only one who had failed to convince a judge at the lower court level that she should get a pass. Now, the three other guys in the car also argued illegal search, throw the evidence out, let me walk. Lower court judge had said, yes, no problem.
Wait, yes to throwing it out?
To throwing it out. They didn't have probable cause on these guys. So they weren't driving the car, who knows what's going on. At any rate, two of those guys failed in their bid. Well, let me back this up. Prosecutors convinced the appellate court judge that two of the guys should stand trial. The search was valid, and so no problem. Denasia Neal and this other guy were waiting to hear what the appellate court said. The appellate court said These searches were legal, they were proper, there was probable cause, and Denasia Neal and the other gentleman, Mr. Darius Green, should proceed to trial along with the other two guys. So now all four of the people in this car are headed to trial in Wayne County Circuit Court on drug trafficking and weapons charges. So big development since last week. I know it's a little bit of a tangled ball of yarn there. If you want to get the whole story,
Oh, you explained it well.
Yeah.
check it out. Well, this is sort of a shameless promotion for last week's episode, but
Or your column in the Free Press.
oh yeah, somebody wrote about it.
Or you.
It's good stuff. So yeah,
Somebody wrote about
so
it.
check that shit out. We will have links on our website, which is mlsoulofdetroit.com.
All right. Now I need to tell you about Hall Financial.
Absolutely.
Do it.
Yeah, longtime
not
partner.
tarry.
Longtime partner of the show, and they're such a great company, such a local force. They want to give back to the show and to the listeners. Did you know this? Huh?
We do now.
They were a good partner for me when I was buying a couple of houses in East Lansing.
They have an exclusive offer right now for ML Solo Detroit listeners. Hall Financial is going to give you $350 in a Home Depot gift card after your loan closes. They're basically going to give you your gift just for being a listener of the show. That's all you have to do. Is just
Well, your loan has to close. You got to do.
Well,
business.
come on, it'll close. Don't worry.
Unless you're driving around with guns and fentanyl,
Wow.
we're very confident that they can make a deal with you. They work very hard to make a deal.
There's always exceptions, aren't there?
Well, you know.
$350 Home Depot gift card. So yeah, that's the gift for being a listener of this show. Hall Financial is the only company with a 5-star certified pre-approval designed to get your offer accepted, ML. Here's the important part. You have to get pre-approved for your new home right now because the offer only lasts for about a month here. So to get started, simply visit callhallfirst.com/ML. If you go to that website, they'll know you're listening to the show, and that's how you get qualified for the $350 offer. So it's callhallfirst.com/ML. It's a nice little incentive. See what they can do for you, and there will be a link on our website as well on the little picture for Hall Financial.
And it feels to me like they're trying to gauge whether or not our listeners are responding.
They also want to give back.
So please respond. And the other thing is interest rates are getting ready to go up, so don't drag your feet. This is a great time to get in on one of these deals before those interest rates. Who knows what they're going to do, but lock it in.
There you go. Callhallfirst.com/ML. And while you're bopping around online, pick up the phone and give Luke Nowacki a call. See what you can do with all this extra money that you're going to get with the loan from Hall Financial. That's a terrible segue. Just call Luke.
Talk to a human being.
Talk to Luke. Luke is a fiduciary who will maybe set you on the right path to see what you want, where you want your money to be, how it's going to grow. Do you want it in equities? Do you want bonds? What are these 529s, 401ks, all these numbers? Nobody knows it but Luke. So give him a call, 248-663-4748.
Because when you call Luke, he will make it all about you.
Now, before I play this disclaimer, I do want to say that I believe there's been a name change in the company for Royal Alliance Associates. So hopefully it's reflected here.
Oh, goodness.
In the sounder.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through
Osaic.
Associates Inc. Member FINRA SIPC.
Osaic.
Is separately owned, and other entities and or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent.
Osaic.
Associates Inc.
I didn't notice any different. It was seamless.
Oh man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
Absolutely seamless.
Does it again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
There's an English expression called too clever by half that really, really strikes home with this week's geek.
Are they the English?
No, but this disgruntled Georgia auto repair shop owner thought he was being really, really clever. So he retaliated against a former employee by paying him with $1,000 in dirty, oily pennies. He was a Geek of the Week here for doing that, but guess what?
What?
Now he found out he owes the man even more than that. A federal judge said that Miles Walker and his company AOK Luxury Auto Works in Peachtree City must pay Andreas Flotten and more than a half dozen co-workers nearly $40,000 in back wages and liquidated damages. So this guy thought, oh, yeah, he's a great guy, blah, 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 blah. No. They dug in. He made his smart-ass move with the pennies. These guys who got cheated kept pushing it. Got a judge to look at this. And guess what? He owes $40,000. Now, I think, and Luke Nowacki's the financial guy. David Hall's the guy who knows numbers. But I think that's 400,000 pennies, or is that 4 million pennies?
I just feel like it's a lot of time used by this guy to prove a point.
Yeah.
Which is that he's kind of a dick.
Yeah, the point was already made, and now he's getting the point right in the eye socket. So too clever by half? Yeah, not even close. $40,000. So smart-ass, oily penny paying dirtbag Miles Walker of AOK Luxury Automobiles in Peachtree, Georgia, you are our Geek of the Week. Just come to the Late Bar. So, and the Late Kitchen, Caju Cafe, which sponsors Room 769, has the latest open kitchen on the east side. It is open so late.
How late is it?
It's very late, Mark. I'm glad you asked. It's open till midnight most nights. It closes a little earlier on Sunday, but they have great food, great music, great entertainment, pinball, feather bowling, live music inside, outside. The garage bar is open, my favorite place to drink on the east side. And they have Monday is Muscle Madness. There's Blues Jam, but you get all the muscles you can eat. They have karaoke on Wednesday, and these people can actually sing. This isn't like bad Japanese tourist karaoke where it's like William Hung, who I know is Japanese,
karaoke.
but these guys, they got pipes. This Thursday, movie screening following Slippery People, a Talking Heads tribute. Super Crunch is back on Friday for those who love the Grateful Dead. Saturday, the Stereo Kings. Sunday, East Side Still Alive with Rock and Roll Prep Varsity Band. And, of course, like I said, Monday is the Open Blues Jam. So to find out more, go to cajucafe.com. And next week, we have a special guest. We're going to have on the guy who built the amazing new neon fixture outside of the Caju Cafe, that's cool, but he's also going to be here with the guy who shot the video, known only as Camera Jesus. So Camera Jesus has been everywhere and shot everything. He hangs out with A-listers, and he's just kind of a regular dude. So some pretty cool guests coming up next week. But now let's get to Room 769. I think Sean is going to be very pleased.
He's already nodding.
Guess what?
Slowly, but nodding.
In October, the church is coming to the Magic Bag, but they're here first on Room 7609 with Reptile.